Hello, welcome back. We're going to do a bit of a story time today because I need some crowdsourced advice. I think most of you know at least a little bit. We're going to hang with the herd for a minute on this gorgeous day. I think most of you know that in my spare time I knit, crochet, I do some fiber work, and that I generally donate everything. And I really enjoy the process of making an item. And I love the thought of it going to somebody who will enjoy it thoroughly and who, will treasure it, right? Or at least that's the hope, right? And when you donate an item, you can't dictate what happens to it, of course. But I work in, luxury fibers. I work in cashmere. I work in yak and camel, and of course all the different wools. So they are nicer pieces, and I like to think that my workmanship is on par with quality. So it's always a pleasure for me to be able to donate it, especially if it's going to somebody who may not have the means to have something a little bit nicer, and it's just a little treat, right? And so recently, I have discovered a local charity whose name will not be mentioned, who had advertised, right? They would take all these different articles of clothing and scarves and hats and gloves and whatever else, right? And be able to put together around the Thanksgiving holiday a market for those in need, right? And it's not a market where they sell the items, it's just a market where somebody could go and shop effectively for free. It includes food pantry, household goods, all the things. And then our clothing, especially getting into winter, certainly helps. And they take used items as well as new. And they had no restrictions on fiber or material content, which a lot of places have restrictions on that. A lot of them will only take acrylic because it needs to be machine washable. So that is a challenge. But anyway, I've been donating, and over the last 2 years, I've donated over 190 items. Some small, some large. Items included sweaters and cardigans, as well as hats and scarves, shawls, larger wraps, blankets, all sorts of things, right? And it makes me happy to think that it's making someone else happy. And that's been the game plan all along. Well, just about 2 weeks ago now, I received a message through Instagram from somebody who had purchased one of my items from a thrift store in Florida. I'm in New Jersey. Local charity is in New Jersey. All right, that happens, right? You can't expect that every item you donate is going to be loved. And if people are in need and they'd sell it off, so be it, right? And that's kind of what I assumed happened, is somebody had taken it, maybe used it for a little bit, and then sold it off. Not a big deal. I had a nice chat with this lovely person who let me know that they were so excited to have found it and would treasure it. And, it was kind of made me feel good anyway. Just disappointing that it was sold rather than the intent, which was give. But then I looked it up just not so much out of curiosity. The person had asked me a question about the fiber content and the percentages, which I don't list on my tags. That's the reason they knew how to find me, is I do tag it with the fiber content so that in case there's any allergies or anything else, people can, pick and choose appropriately. So they found me that way and asked for percentages. And so I had to look up my record of that project. I do keep a record of the projects, and I know which ones were donated, what year they were donated, and where they went, right? So I took a look at it and I was like, oh, wait, this was donated in 2025. So it was donated less than 3 weeks before I got this message from this person who purchased it at a thrift shop in Florida. Well, that's disappointing, isn't it? Because that pretty much tells me that it didn't have time to be at the Thanksgiving market and get to a family and get sold in New Jersey and get down to Florida to get resold again, right? Like, that's just, logistically 3 weeks during the holiday was not enough time for that to happen, which means that my items were sold probably by the charitable organization. And again, I can't dictate where a donation goes or how it gets used, but certainly the intent was not to donate for sale, right? And that sort of turned me off pretty instantaneously. I'm pretty frustrated about it. And, I'd love your opinions. Tell me if I'm wrong for feeling the way I feel. I really would like to not feel the way I feel about it, right? I just find it a little bit unfortunate is the best word I can come up with without, calling them other names. That it was advertised as something that would go to a local family in need, free of charge, and instead it was sold off. And maybe they're using the money for food, or maybe they're using the money for something else they would need. And that is, I get it, right? But then don't say you need or you will take these items for that purpose. Say you need money, or you need food, or you need household goods instead. So anyway, that's the way I'm feeling right now. I would love your opinions on that. And then I really need some crowdsource help, if you've stuck around for the story this long, on what to do now, right? I'm starting to gather the next round of items available for donation, and I don't necessarily now have an outlet for it. So I've been thinking, do I put them individually, one at a time, up on our Facebook, Instagram, socials, right? We have all of them, and offer them for effectively an auction, right? Starting at whatever the amount it will cost me to mail it to you, right? So let's say we'll start it at $10. These are items that have, hundreds of dollars a yarn, not to mention all my time in it. And then just run it to a specific time and see what we get. I don't know. I'm trying to think of ways to then take that money and get it to a charity, right? Like, so it's not intended to be an auction where I would run it, keep the money, and of course I wouldn't keep it anyway. I would do what I did with the soap stuff, and it goes to the animals, but I'd much rather it go to a charitable organization. It's a much slower process that way. But is that something that you think would be of interest? Is it something even viable? Would people want, like, say, a large wrap or a shawl or something that was handmade here on the farm by me? That is, wearable, reusable, etc., made from natural fibers for a price you could not buy it for in the store. Would be my assumption, unless like the auction goes crazy or something. And then we take those proceeds. So I would knock off the postage, right? So let's call postage $10. That's probably high, but we'll knock off the postage, and everything else goes to a charitable organization, maybe breast cancer, something, sort of universally helpful. Certainly, there's other areas, World Wildlife Fund, Nature Conservancy, Livestock Conservancy, we can talk about and maybe take votes on where it goes. I'm not thinking it's going to earn us much unless we start to, collect up front and, say, okay, we earned, we'll call it, let's hope for the best. Let's say we earn $100 per item. That's never going to happen, but let's say it does. I'll have high hopes. And we do 10 items a year. That's $1,000 that we can get to a charity. Is that something that makes sense? Is that something somebody would want to do? I'm thinking like a once a month thing. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ways to make the items that I create useful. I'm going to end it here because I didn't realize how long this got. It originally started with just a story that I was going to tell because I thought the story was pretty funny. And now I'm looking for your thoughts and opinions on what you think we can do to make all these items something that I can turn into something good for the community. All right. Sorry, the herd's been kind of quiet. They're they're just enjoying the weather, as are the rest of us. But maybe they'll start moving again come spring. Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in this world. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of my community. And I will talk to you at the next one. Bye for now.